My parents went on a family-only ski trip. My name wasn't mentioned until the $8,200 bill hit my corporate card. Chalet, spa packages, private lessons, all on me. When I asked, my mom replied, "Don't ruin the vibe." So I quietly canceled every transaction. By sunrise, my phone had 31 missed calls. It started with a random chase alert at 2:17 a.m. I was half asleep, groggy, thinking maybe I left DoorDash open again. But when I saw the amount, my stomach dropped. $8,200. Pending charge. Vail, Colorado. That was not tacos. I sat up immediately, opened the app, scrolled through the breakdown. A chalet rental, spa packages, private ski instructors, rental gear, premium lift tickets, room service, everything luxury, everything first class, and every charge tied to my corporate card, the one that's strictly for work travel, issued under my company's name with monthly audits. I started to panic, thought I was hacked. I even filled out the first part of a fraud report before something caught my attention. The guest's name on the reservation, Elaine Foster, my mom. At first I thought maybe she'd used my info by accident. Maybe she mixed up cards. But the further I dug, the more deliberate it looked. The booking email, the account, even the attached phone number. All hers. That's when I checked Instagram. Nicole, my cousin, had posted a picture. My mom, dad, brother, aunt, and uncle. Matching ski jackets, wine glasses in hand, giant fireplace in the background. Captioned, "Finally. A real family-only getaway." Family only. My name wasn't tagged. I hadn't been invited. No one told me a thing. But somehow, every transaction had been silently funneled through me. My phone was on 9%. I didn't even bother plugging it in. I just stared at the screen, feeling this slow, boiling disbelief rise in my chest. When I called my mom, she answered like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't just stolen $8,200 from her daughter's work card during the busiest financial quarter of the year. She said they were just getting settled, and the place was unbelievable. She said they knew I was busy and thought it would be nice to just get away with the core family. When I asked about the card, she actually said, "Don't ruin the vibe." That's when something in me snapped. I didn't yell. I didn't warn anyone. I just opened the banking app and started canceling things. Spa treatments, gone. Lessons, refunded. Equipment rentals, fitted. The chalet booking, flagged for fraud. The entire transaction chain collapsed in under 30 minutes. At 3:41 a.m., I submitted a complete corporate fraud report to my company's finance department, flagged my own card, and requested a reissue with tighter limits. At 4:05 a.m., the resort called my mom's number and told her the payment had failed, and that they needed an alternative form immediately, or the reservation would be voided. By sunrise, I had 31 missed calls. My brother, my mom, my dad, even my aunt, who never calls anyone unless it's her birthday. Voicemails ranged from confused to angry to absolutely desperate. My dad actually left a message saying the manager told them they had to vacate the chalet by noon, and that they'd already posted all the photos. The comments under Nicole's post were pouring in. Friends, coworkers, extended family, all congratulating them. One even wrote, "You raised her right. Must be nice having a daughter who spoils you." I didn't reply. Not to them. Not yet. This wasn't the first time something like this had happened. When I got promoted back in February, they celebrated harder than I did. My mom said it felt like we all won. My dad kept joking that I was finally earning daughter-level dividends. At first I thought they were just proud. But then came the subtle withdrawals. It started with a small transfer for the car insurance. Then it was just a plumbing issue. Then the vet. Then the garage door. Always something. And always positioned like a favor I owed them. They had no idea the card they just exploited was monitored by my company's accounting department. If that audit hit before I filed the report, I'd be in violation of policy. This wasn't just betrayal. This was risking my entire career. And they did it like it was nothing. No heads up. No apology. No warning. Just booked a luxury ski trip with my money, left me out, and told me not to ruin the vibe. Well, the vibe was ruined. And the fallout hadn't even started yet. By 9 a.m. I was getting texts from people I hadn't heard from in months. Apparently, my mom had told a few relatives I offered to sponsor the trip. She framed it as a holiday gift, her generous daughter treating everyone because I was killing it in tech. My cousin Brian even texted me a thumbs-up emoji and said I was baller now. I hadn't sponsored anything. I hadn't even known. I got an email from my company's finance manager just before noon. He thanked me for flagging the activity so fast. Said it saved them a massive headache. What he didn't say but I knew was that if I'd waited a day longer, This could have triggered a full audit and possibly put my reimbursement privileges on hold. So yeah, crisis averted. Professionally. Personally, not even close. My mom showed up at my apartment that night. No warning. Just rang the buzzer and waited. I live in a secure building, so I didn't let her in. She called from the sidewalk and left a voicemail that started sweet and spiraled. First she was hurt. Then she was confused. Then it turned into, after everything we've done for you, everything they've done? This wasn't about me forgetting birthdays or skipping Thanksgiving. This was calculated theft. He booked that trip weeks ago. Set up the billing through my card. Made sure to avoid tagging me in any photos. Told everyone I was too busy, too career-focused, and wouldn't want to ski anyway. She knew exactly what she was doing. I texted her back 2 lines. You had no right to use that card. Do not show up unannounced again. The response came 10 minutes later. A full paragraph about how family doesn't nickel and dime each other, and how I've changed since my promotion, and how sad it is that money now means more to me than memories. That's when it hit me. They weren't shocked that I canceled the charges. They were shocked that I set a boundary. Up until then I hadn't said no. Not once. They got used to me paying for things. Not because they couldn't, but because they didn't want to. And I let it happen. Quietly. Repeatedly. And now that I wasn't letting it slide, suddenly I was the selfish one. That week I started making a list. Not for revenge, for clarity. December, $8,200 for the ski trip. November, $1,100 emergency dental bill for my dad, who later told me he didn't even go. October, $640 to fix their AC unit, except I found out it had been covered by their warranty. September, $2,200 for a deposit on a used car for my brother. Still no car. It wasn't just a pattern, it was a system. I was the safety net. And worse, I'd been trained not to question it. So I stopped responding. Didn't answer their calls. Didn't reply to texts. Didn't Venmo anyone for Christmas shopping. And on January 1st I logged into every joint account, automatic transfer and shared payment plan, and pulled out. Cell phones? Transferred to their name. Streaming services? Cancelled. Household bills I'd been secretly covering? Removed my info. Even the monthly payment I'd been making toward their property tax. Gone. I didn't warn them. I didn't ask for a meeting. I just quietly disappeared from their financial lives. The first sign they noticed was the Netflix login. Then the Disney Plus. Then my dad's Spotify stopped working mid-drive. But what really shook them was the gas bill. The one I'd been paying every winter since they retired. Turns out when the thermostat doesn't work, people pay attention. And this time I wasn't answering the phone. By the time the gas bill went unpaid and the thermostat stopped working, things got quiet. Not peaceful. Just quiet. The kind of quiet you know is temporary, like the eye of a storm. My mom stopped calling. That was my first warning. My dad didn't text. My brother hadn't messaged me since the ski trip meltdown, and even Nicole had gone radio silent after that whole family-only photo stunt. Then it started. First came the knock at my door. I didn't answer. I watched from the peephole. My aunt. Same one who toasted champagne in a luxury chalet while my bank account bled. She stood there with a Tupperware container and a tight smile, like we were about to play house. She waited for almost 10 minutes, then left it at the door. Inside was some bland homemade lasagna and a handwritten note. They're hurting, Ratch. Don't let pride ruin blood. I threw it out. 2 days later, a voicemail from my grandma. He sounded confused, not angry. She asked what was going on, said my mom was heartbroken, said maybe I just needed to rest. As if this was exhaustion. As if financial exploitation was a misunderstanding born from burnout. The next day the real strategy kicked in. My mom activated the family network. I got a Facebook message from a second cousin I haven't seen in 5 years. He said he heard things were tense and wanted to check in. My uncle sent me a passive-aggressive quote from a church bulletin about forgiveness starting at home. Nicole posted a story of my parents sitting on their porch with the caption, "They gave us everything." Some of us remember that. No one mentioned the ski trip. No one mentioned the money. They all kept it vague, wrapped in concern, but every message had the same undertone, that I had overreacted. That I was ungrateful. That I was cruel. Then came the email. From my dad. Subject line, "Let's reconnect." It was written like a CEO trying to salvage a failed partnership. He used phrases like recent missteps and unintentional misunderstandings. He said he recognized that things had gotten off balance financially, and that moving forward, they wanted to create a more mutually respectful support system. He suggested setting up a monthly check-in. He asked if I'd be open to helping with a few bills this quarter, just until things stabilize. Then he ended with, "We know you've got the resources. We just need a little bit of your sunshine back. Sunshine. That was what my mom used to call my mood when I was little. Now apparently it was a currency. I didn't respond. The next day my mother posted a carefully worded paragraph in our extended family group chat. Not directly at me but clearly about me. She said that some family members had become distant, that money changes people, and that she hoped this wasn't the end of the closeness she always dreamed of. What really got me was the line, "It's just heartbreaking when success erases gratitude." That did it. I spent 2 hours pulling records. Not from memory, from bank statements, transfers, receipts, Zelle screenshots, everything. I put it all into a single document. Clean, itemized, no commentary. January to December. Mortgage help, $7,800. Emergency car repairs, 3 different times $3,100. Surprise, medical expenses, $2,500. Streaming services, 4 accounts $720. Cell phones family plan $1,380. Property tax, $2,700. Vail ski trip, $8,200. Grocery reimbursements, $900. Vet bills, $729. Holiday gifts for the cousins, $500. Total, $28,529. That wasn't including small things. Birthday dinners, gas fill-ups, surprise Amazon packages that I was told would just be temporary. I sent it to the entire family thread. I didn't write a sob story. No long explanation. No bitterness. I just said, since people are asking why I've pulled back, here's why. I'm done funding other people's silence and manipulation. I'm not mad. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just not volunteering anymore. The thread went dead. Not a single message for hours. Then my mom called. Twice. I didn't answer. She finally left a voicemail. Said she didn't realize it had added up like that, and she just thought I was helping out because I wanted to. She ended the message with, "This isn't you, Rachel. You're being cold." I saved the voicemail and filed it in the same folder as the email. I wasn't cold. I was clear. But I knew this wasn't over. Because people like my parents don't stop when they get caught. They just switch tactics. 2 days after I sent the family that document, the flowers arrived. Huge bouquet. Pink lilies, white roses, eucalyptus. The kind of arrangement you send after a funeral, not after being caught stealing. There was no card, just a text from my mom that said, "Thought these might help soften things." I didn't respond. The next day, a Venmo notification popped up. $150. From my dad. Caption, "Starting to make things right." Actually laughed. Out loud. After everything they took, thousands of dollars, months of stress, my peace, they sent the equivalent of a grocery run and called it closure. Then came the dinner invitation. Neutral territory. My favorite Italian place from college. The email came from my dad, but the wording had my mom written all over it. "We want to take accountability. Let's talk, just the 3 of us." Against my better judgment, I went. They were already seated when I arrived, dressed way too nicely for a weeknight dinner. My mom in pearls. My dad in one of those dress shirts he only wears to weddings or apologies. They both stood up like we were old friends meeting after a conference. They didn't ask how I was. They told me, "You look successful. So grown up." Then the show started. They began by acknowledging how things must have looked. My mom said they should have asked before using the card. My dad said they were deeply sorry for creating any confusion. They both used the word misunderstanding like it had been focus grouped. When they were done, they paused, waiting for my forgiveness like it was a formality. So I asked one question. "What's the total?" They blinked. My dad said he wasn't sure, maybe a few thousand. My mom tried to deflect, said the number wasn't what mattered, it was the intention. That they always intended to make things right. That's when I pulled out the envelope. Printed receipts. The total breakdown. Everything they drained from me over the last 12 months. I didn't say a word. Just slid it across the table. My mom stared at it. My dad looked like he wanted to disappear into the breadbasket. That's when I told them it was over. No more support. No more quiet bailouts. No more Venmo, no more shared accounts, no more logging into my Uber Eats because they didn't want to cook. The safety net was gone. I told them every access point was already closed. Passwords changed, subscriptions canceled, my name pulled off every utility, card, loan, and tax bill. Then I told them something they really didn't expect. The mortgage. Back in 2022, without ever telling me, they used my name and my credit to secure a loan. Said it was just paperwork for refinancing. I signed a gift letter they said was for approval speed. Turns out it made me co-borrower. Not co-signer, co-borrower. And now the payments were behind. I only found out because I ran a credit report last week after freezing my accounts. That's when I saw it. A delinquent mortgage attached to my name tied to their address. I'd already hired a lawyer. I told them this clearly, slowly, that if they thought this dinner would be a restart, they were wrong. This wasn't a chapter break. This was a hard stop. They went silent. Then my mom reached into her purse and pulled out a folded check. She slid it across the table like she was presenting an Oscar. It was for $1,500. I didn't touch it. I recognized the bank, a joint account they closed 6 months ago. The check was dead before the ink dried. Just like their apology. I left it there, stood up, grabbed my coat, and as I was walking away, I heard her whisper to my dad. "She'll come back. She always comes back." She didn't say it to me. She said it like I was a phase. But this wasn't a phase. This was the reset. And the real storm, the legal one, hadn't even started yet. 3 weeks passed after that dinner. No texts. No calls. No more checks with fake money. Just silence. The kind that only shows up when people are waiting to see if their bluff worked. It hadn't. By then I'd already filed paperwork with the county to remove myself from anything I wasn't legally bound to. But the mortgage? That one was tricky. Because I was legally bound. My name was right there next to theirs on the loan they took out under the pretense of refinancing, just to lower their rate. It wasn't just unethical. It was fraud. The lawyer I hired was calm, sharp, and borderline terrifying. She walked me through everything. The forged digital signature. The so-called gift letter. The timeline. Every single page of that loan application screamed manipulation. The lender had approved it on the assumption that I was contributing income. I wasn't. I'd never been told. And that made the entire thing vulnerable to being voided, or worse for them, investigated. I didn't go nuclear. Not yet. What I did instead was simple. I forced a review. That triggered a flag in the system, which paused the account for risk evaluation. Which meant no refinancing. No late payment extensions. No additional aid. Their bank froze the options they'd been relying on. And that's when things started to crack. I got a call from my brother first. He said Mom and Dad were freaking out, that the bank was asking questions they couldn't answer, and that if I was planning on doing anything drastic, I should at least talk to them first. I didn't respond. Then came the text. My dad said things like, "Can we just work this out? And don't involve strangers in our family business." But it was never just family business. It was my credit score, my career, my name. And they'd gambled it like it was nothing. That month, their heating bill went unpaid. Streaming accounts were dead. The credit card I used to help them get, closed. Their Amazon account, locked out because it was still tied to my Prime membership and corporate email. Small things at first, but then bigger ones. They missed a property tax deadline because I used to be the one who paid it every April. They called the county. The county told them I was no longer listed. Their house insurance was up for renewal. Turns out they'd been paying the premium with a card tied to one of my old accounts. They never updated it. Denied. I got an email from my old insurance agent, asking if I'd moved out of the listed residence. I replied with 3 words. Over 3 years. They were unraveling faster than I thought they would. My mom tried to guilt trip me again. She sent a message saying she was losing sleep and didn't understand how I could watch them struggle. She called me cold, corporate, unrecognizable. I didn't reply. I was busy. I was setting up a separate account for emergencies. My emergencies. I changed my number. Created a new private email. Wrote up a list of boundaries and policies for myself. Not just for my parents. For anyone. No one gets access to my accounts. No one gets added to my cards. No one borrows under my name. If they ask for money, I ask for paperwork. If they send guilt, I block it. This wasn't bitterness. It was safety. I didn't go on social media. I didn't tell my friends what I was doing. I didn't post a single quote about self-love or boundaries. I just moved in silence. And then one day a letter arrived. Not a card. Not a handwritten note. A formal envelope. From the mortgage company. It was a notice of missed payment, and a warning. If no action was taken, the loan would be escalated. Not defaulted yet. But close. I wasn't responsible for paying it. Legally, I was still tied, but because of the fraud investigation, they couldn't force me to cover it. And that's when I made my final decision. I gave the lender everything. The emails. The fake documents. The manipulated application. The text from my mom asking me to just sign the thing real quick, back in 2022. I gave them the full picture. I didn't press charges. But I made it clear, I wasn't protecting them anymore. And I meant it. The official notice came in March. The lender had finished their internal review and concluded that the loan was approved under misrepresented information. That wasn't an accusation. It was a warning. If my parents couldn't prove their ability to independently cover the payments, the loan would be terminated. They had 60 days to refinance, under their own names. No more hiding behind mine. I didn't reach out. I didn't offer to help. I didn't even gloat. I just watched as everything I'd quietly held together for them started to fall apart in slow motion. They tried to scramble. I saw a Facebook post from my mom, a blurry photo of her and my dad smiling awkwardly in a diner booth captioned, "When you've still got each other, you've got enough." It was so performative I didn't even bother rolling my eyes. 2 days later my cousin messaged me. Said my parents were considering selling the house. Turns out they hadn't been able to get a new loan approved. My dad's credit was wrecked. My mom wasn't even on file for income anymore. And without me on the paperwork, the bank didn't want the risk. That house, the one they used to brag about, the one I'd helped quietly pay taxes on for 3 years, was now a burden they couldn't keep. And still no apology. Not a real one. Just scattered attempts at pity. Little messages from my brother like, "They're not perfect, but they're still our parents." Notes from my aunt saying, "Don't let pride divide blood." All of it built around one idea. That I owed them another chance just because we shared DNA. But here's the thing no one talks about. When people exploit you long enough, your love doesn't disappear. It hardens. It stops showing up as generosity and starts showing up as distance. They didn't believe me when I said I was done. But they believed me when the internet got shut off. When their heat went off in February. When the DMV sent them a late registration fee because I wasn't there to pay it for them anymore. They called one night from a different number. I didn't recognize it, so I answered. It was my mom. She sounded small. She said they'd made mistakes. That they never thought it would go this far. She said they didn't expect me to forgive everything, but maybe we could start again. Even if that just meant talking once a week. She said they'd learned their lesson. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't even explain. I told her I didn't hate her. I didn't wish them harm. I just couldn't go back to being a safety net for people who treated me like an account, not a daughter. And then I said something I hadn't said before. Not to her, not even to myself. "I'm not mad you needed help. I'm mad you acted like it was mine to give, forever." She didn't argue. She didn't hang up. She just said okay. And for the first time in a long time, it felt like she actually heard me. Not because she wanted to, but she had to. No. I live differently. I still help people. I still care. But no one touches my finances without a contract. No one touches my peace without permission. And if someone tells me I've changed, I take it as a compliment. Because the old version of me would have paid for their ski trip. And apologized for not going. No. I sleep in silence. And no one's charging me for it.